Good morning, gardeners. It is a brisk, cool October morning, and the fall colors are really shining this morning. Here's an anemone that I planted early this year, and it is in the shadiest part of my garden, or an area that has become shady because of the crepe myrtle tree. But this is the side of my long border, and so much growth this year. This oak leaf hydrangea has really multiplied in size, and I may take some cuttings from it next year and add this in other places of my garden, other places in my garden. But it is so lovely, and I can't wait to see the fall color on this plant. It is going to be amazing. I have some other oak leaf hydrangeas in the garden that are starting to change colors, but let's take a look at this Mars Madness hibiscus that already has its fall color. I have 3 of these planted in my garden, and they have been amazing this year. The limelight hydrangeas have grown exponentially this year as well. I like to leave the bloom heads on them throughout the winter to add a little extra interest in the garden. But you can see this Mars Madness has already started to drop its leaves, and the fall color in this corner of the garden is just popping. And check out the sunshine ligustrums in the background and the roses that are coming back. That is the Grace and Grit red rose from Monrovia, and it has a very upright pattern in its growth, which I absolutely love, because it doesn't spread wide like most shrub roses. This one grows more upright, and it's perfect for this corner of the garden. I added that maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and it just gives a lovely pop of color between those sunshine ligustrums. You can see the autumn joy sedum, and I have a purple sedum here. I'll have to find the name and put that on the screen for you. But this purple sedum is so gorgeous. Look at the flowers on this. I will continue to divide this and add it throughout the garden because it's just a stunner, especially in front of this agastache. My other agastache died back, so I added more of these because the smell is unbelievable. And I love that the hummingbirds love this in the spring and summertime. So as we move along the long border, as I mentioned, check out the color on this oak leaf hydrangea. It already has its fall color on it, and it is absolutely gorgeous. A lot of my autumn joy sedums are, splitting, falling apart. I might divide these earlier next year, but you can see new growth on it already. And I'll show you another spot where I just laid one of these stems on the ground, and they are growing. So let me show you that. So you can see right here, I have some stems just laying on the ground, and that sedum is growing. Autumn joy sedum is definitely one of my favorite plants in the garden. I have been waiting to gather these Rudbeckia maxima seeds. I recently cut the tops off of the plant because you can see they're nice and dry. And right now I'm releasing the seeds from the seed head into this bag. And you can see all of these amazing seeds that I'm collecting. This is so exciting. I have lots of different plants around the garden. I don't do a lot of seed collecting, but I really like the Rudbeckia maxima, so I decided to let these dry out on the plant, and now I am releasing them from the seed pod. So I just kind of spin this, break it apart, and all these seeds just start to pop off. I'll keep doing this and repackage this in another brown bag and let it continue to dry just in case some moisture is in this bag. And y'all, look at that. All these free seeds. I am anxiously waiting for these chrysanthemums to bloom. These are hardy chrysanthemums, and I purchased these from Trader Joe's, I think, maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, on clearance. And I put them in the garden just to see how they would perform, and they come back every year. The only problem is they don't bloom until almost first frost. I did cut them back this year because last year they were just falling over terribly. So I cut them back, but they still have a lot of height to them. I moved this daylily back here probably a month ago, and you can see that it actually wants to bloom again. I refreshed this edge of lamb's ear recently because this edge was looking pretty tattered. So I divided and moved some lamb's ear back here. I actually mulched it. Mulching is not my favorite thing to do, but I did take some time to mulch this area this time, and it does look so much better. And here I have my Nana globosa added to this edge of the garden to add a little winter interest this year and for the years to come. And you can see back here, I recently dug up some of my persicaria. I left the blooms on it. You can see the little pink blooms. But I dug up a patch of that to add to this border. I want to see how they perform in this border. I had them in a shadier spot, but I think they might be okay in this area. The hardy ginger is still blooming and it smells amazing. This is one of the best blooms that I've seen. Usually they turn brown pretty quickly, but this one is pretty magnificent. I love that really light yellow color that you can see at the bottom of the petal. But it still smells amazing. It smells more amazing when it's hot outside. But if you get really close to it, you can smell all the wonderful fragrance coming off of this flower. We have a late daylily bloom. This plant was transplanted about a month ago. I dug up a clump from the side garden and moved it into this back area. This typically was my pink and purple garden, but now I'm just starting to add lots of different colors. You can see the penstemon. I left the seed heads on this, and I'm so glad I did because the fall color on these are beautiful. And lots of seeds are in these seed heads, so I've been breaking those open and just letting them fall to the ground. And I'll leave most of these up throughout the fall and the winter. I'm also loving the fall color on this hardy chrysanthemum. The purple and green variegated color are really beautiful. And these still haven't bloomed yet. These are the last to bloom in my garden. I mentioned before that these didn't bloom until almost first frost. So I'm hoping that they will show their faces before first frost this year. This is a climbing rose that I threaten to remove from my garden every year. And then in fall, it creates this beautiful bloom. You can see there's several blooms happening and on the way. So it will remain. But each year, I really just want to bring my shovel over here and dig this up. But I love it. I consider roses to be my fall plants, my early spring and fall plants. I don't worry about them much at all in the summertime because the Japanese beetles do a number on them. But fall is the perfect time for my roses. So let's check out Juvie. This is the area that is often neglected, but right now it is full of swamp sunflowers. This hibiscus did really well this year. This is the Adore hibiscus. There's a crepe myrtle planted right behind the hibiscus. I'm not sure if I'll leave it here, but the fall color is beautiful. This area really got neglected this year because a lot of overgrowth was happening on the other side of the fence. And I saw a snake one day and I just avoided this area for a while. This snowball viburnum has had blooms on it all season long. I mean, from spring, summer, and now fall again, it has little blooms. The blooms are really big early spring. But there are a lot of plants in this bed. I let the swamp sunflowers just take over this bed this year because I knew I wasn't going to put much work into this area this year. But it's okay. It's a beautiful natural habitat for so many critters and bugs and just probably a little bit of everything. This is a golden plum tree that has this beautiful color on it. And this is another tree that I consider removing because there's an apple tree planted right behind it, or that might be a pear tree. But I know this will get a bit congested over the next few years if I don't remove one of them. I have roses growing back here as well, and these are quite fragrant. And this is my mom's oak leaf hydrangea. This was the first cutting that I took from her garden after her passing. And it's happy. It's happy back here, and I'm happy that it's happy. The cardoons love the cooler temperatures. So I always get that next or second flush of cardoons this time of year. And they are perennial for me. I could really say they're evergreen for me because there's always a little bit of growth showing on these cardoons throughout the season. And check out the Princess Caroline grass. This is a sedum, and right behind it is a little zebra maiden grass. And oh, that combination. It's outstanding. I love it. And I have a hydrangea planted here. I need to look up the name of this, but it is, I guess, an old-fashioned panicle hydrangea. I don't see it in the big box stores anymore. I found it at my local nursery. And the name of it, like I said, it escapes me, but it was a different name, so I picked it up anyway just to add it to my garden. But it is blooming now, and just this backdrop of the Princess Caroline, Pennisetum, and the hydrangea and the swamp sunflowers together make a beautiful scene.